As we head towards the Imola Grand Prix this upcoming weekend, Mercedes are bringing the second half of their Imola upgrade package to the event, after having already accelerated the first half to Miami. And with that, they hope to achieve a greater competitiveness against their competitors after the likes of Ferrari revealed the upgrade package in their private racetrack in Fiorano, and of course McLaren's race-winning upgrade in Miami. So without further ado, let's go over each of these upgrades that they're bringing, which is of course a brand new rear ring and beam ring, and discuss how this is going to help widen their working range when it comes to the operating window and their setup. With Mercedes having such a small operating window from which to work in, it's very difficult for the team from session to session to actually find the sweet spot with the Mercedes, and that's why you see such a fluctuation between the cars, between the drivers, and between sessions. And this is what the upgrade that they accelerated to Miami was about, and it's also what the second phase of this upgrade is going to do in Imola with the introduction of the new beam ring and rear ring. It's about widening that operating window from which they can get the setup into the correct zone, and from that be able to bring a nice harmonious balance from the front to the rear of the car. And then of course the drivers can gain a bit more confidence in knowing and understanding what the car is going to do from corner to corner, lap to lap on a more consistent basis. And for that to happen, the whole point of this overall package is to increase the rear downforce and to give a much more stable platform for them to work from. In the deep dive or the post-race analysis of the Miami Grand Prix, Andrew Chauvelin had this to say on what they're trying to achieve with these upgrades. With the ground effect cars, the suspension travel has been shortened across the entire speed range. And even though a car is moving less, it has a big influence on how the front ring and diffuser works. And that changes the characteristics of the car from corner type to corner type. Now, how does this affect Mercedes? Well, it's a difficulty of them finding a balance between corner entry and exit, and also between fast and slow corners, and this of course affects tyre temperatures. Now, all teams are faced with this, but Mercedes are much more inclined to have trouble with this than their direct opponents. And Chauvelin goes on to explain that we are behind in development. That's why we have to push it forward now. The gap isn't big. The four teams behind Red Bull are very close together. Unfortunately, we're on the wrong side at the moment. And with all of these changes and the ones from Miami, which we'll now get into, all these upgrades are being created and put onto the car with the hopes of widening that operating window, and of course in turn helping their tyre temperature issues. And for Miami, Mercedes brought a raft of upgrades to do that. These included changes occurring across the floor, cooling globes, front ring and front suspension. The most important and significant upgrades, which they've been clearly spending the vast majority of their time on, is that of the floor, with major changes having been made to the floor edge as well as to the volume of the floor roof, as has been stated by the team. This, in conjunction with all the other updates, they hope will increase the floor load and have a stabilization effect on the balance of the W15. And to achieve this, they started off with making quite a lot of modifications to the floor, with the floor edge detailing having been changed for Miami. More floor vanes, which have been highlighted in yellow on the post-Miami update, have been added to the new floor. The increase in the floor vanes have been added to the new floor in order to drop the pressure much more locally, and in turn this helps to increase the forward floor load on the car. One other small update to the side pod is the introduction of more cooling grooves on top of it. Now this is being done to increase the mass flow throughout the side pods, and this will of course help the cooling in Miami throughout the weekend. And of course, all of these changes are to try and to stabilize the balance that the two drivers that are driving the W15 are experiencing throughout a given lap. And this is something Lewis has made quite a few remarks on in interviews over the course of the opening rounds of the season. Here is a sneak glimpse into what he feels when he's driving the car and how he describes the balance issues.
It is, it's difficult to explain it, but we had some bouncing in Bahrain, but nowhere near as intense as here. But this is that first sector is super high speed, a lot of yaw in the car, and a lot of lateral load, and the bouncing really offsets the car quite a bit. If you imagine when the car goes up and down at the back, your balance shifts forwards and rearwards. You know, if you're doing it at 160, 170 miles an hour, correcting that each time is really, the others that are going, for example, Max is flat through 6, 7, 8, and the balance is just stable, and that's what we're working towards. But we got to fix it. It's like 3 years in a row. We've got to get on top of it.
And this essentially revolves around Mercedes and their floor and how they actually create and generate the downforce, and of course how the floor interacts with the surface of each racetrack. And I think this is where one of their major problems is, and they've just never been able to get on top of the issues that they've had from day one all the way back in 2022 when they designed their somewhat zero pod design concept. Now, whether all of these upgrades once combined help them and achieve what they wish to, only time will tell. But based on the track record and how they've been over the last 3 seasons, I really don't see this happening anytime soon, particularly not in the sense of hitting the ground running in much the same way McLaren did with their upgrade package in Miami, or in the way Ferrari have, improved the car from last year to this, and how they look like they're going to have a huge step in improved lap times as we head towards Imola. I expect those 2 teams to be the ones challenging Red Bull for the race win, and Mercedes to be behind them. And let's not forget, Aston Martin too, they have an upgrade package as they look to close the gap to the leading teams. So depending on what Mercedes can achieve with this package, they might be the 5th quickest team in Imola and for the foreseeable future. And so all the fans of the Mercedes team out there, they really just need to kind of take a moment, just relax and just see how it all unfolds, because I don't see this being the magic bullet that some of them might be hoping for. Alright guys, that's the video. Hope you've all enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like, subscribe and turn on notifications, and I will catch you all later.